When I was in Jamaica, I heard about Colon. Colon boys are raising mighty hell. They buy shots and powder to shoot their countrymen, but now they cannot buy a bobo head. Take me home and I turn back.
Native artist, Tale of Rebellion. The Native Baptist Church was formed by freed blacks and slaves in response to racial prejudice in the English Baptist mission churches. The word native commonly have a negative connotation, but in the case of the Native Baptist Church, was appropriated and used in a positive way as a form of protest against prejudice. The Native Baptist community had more than 13,000 members. The leader, William Tillich, had a congregation of more than 1,000 members. There were annual reports and yearly meetings. The church was well structured and organized with rules and regulations and methods to raise funds. The Native Baptists believed that one did not need a scholarship to preach. It was more important to have charisma and be able to communicate. They viewed themselves as authentic ministers of religion. They justified their practices and beliefs based on scripture. They viewed Christ as endorsing black values and social freedom.
Another religious element of the Native Baptist Church is the incorporation of African religious ritual. Author Ivor Moorish says that Mialism developed out of the desire for self-expression and self-fulfillment through some recollection and recreation of the African past. Christianity was shaped to fit with the pre-existing beliefs of Mialism. Mialism sought to destroy the evil of Obeah, or the evil of witchcraft, through ritual dances and spirit possession. It was believed to protect slave communities from harm. The centrality of dreams and visions in the Native Baptist Church can be attributed to Mialism. Evangelist George Lyell was responsible for forming the Native Baptist Church in the late 18th century. Lyell was an African-American missionary who spread the Baptist faith to Jamaica, where it was adopted and merged with Mialism. Lyell used the class leader system in which the best converts were placed as leaders over the new. This allowed for the Native Baptist Church to grow and spread to plantations across Jamaica. The syncretism of Christianity and Mialism inspired rebellions in Jamaica. In Scripture, blacks found support and justification of demands for social equity and autonomy. The Native Baptists viewed Christ as supporting their values, while Mialism enforced the unity of slaves against European culture.
The Baptist War of 1831 was a result of efforts on the part of the Native Baptist Church and the charismatic leader, Samuel Sharp. Samuel Sharp was a domestic slave and was literate. Through interpretation of the Bible, he believed that slaves were entitled to freedom and worked as a leader within the Native Baptist Church to inspire slaves to fight for freedom. Sharp used the quote, "No man can serve two masters," as a slogan to protest slavery. Sharp spoke to thousands of slaves via a network of organized meetings, inciting them to stop working unless they were granted wages for their work. Sharp encouraged passive resistance as opposed to armed rebellion. Many slaves swore oaths on the Bible that they would not work after Christmas. Also called the Christmas Uprising, the Baptist War began on Christmas in 1831. The revolt lasted 10 days, and 60,000 of 300,000 of Jamaica's slaves were involved. When the peaceful protest failed, tens of thousands of slaves burned estates. Sharp had instructed the slaves that they were not to kill slave owners, but should instead destroy property. As a result, only 14 whites were killed. 500 slaves were killed or executed. After the rebellion, as Sharp was on the gallows, awaiting to die, he is quoted as saying that he'd rather die than continue to live as a slave. The Baptist War is often viewed as having sped up the eventual emancipation of slaves in Jamaica in 1834. Within a week of the end of the rebellion, the British Parliament began working towards abolishing slavery.
Bogo was another native Baptist leader who inspired the Moran Bay Rebellion in Jamaica by using religious justification. The Moran Bay Rebellion was inspired by a concern for lack of justice, access to land, low and irregular pay. Meetings were held in native Baptist homes and chapels where people took oaths vowing to participate in the uprising. Author Gardner Newman claims that Jamaica had a tradition of rebellion which was linked to the impact of social, religion, and political ideas, especially towards the end of the 18th and beginning of the 19th century. Bogo took inspiration from these past rebellions, especially Samuel Sharp, a fellow native Baptist. This can be seen in the Baptist War, where participants in the Moran Bay Rebellion took oaths. Both were based around religious meetings and were inspired by native Baptist traditions.
On October 11, 1865, several hundred Jamaicans marched into the town of Morant Bay, the capital of the predominantly sugar-growing parish of St. Thomas, to demonstrate against injustices. Gad Human describes the rebellion. They pillaged the police station of its weapons and then confronted the volunteer militia, which had been called up to protect the meeting of the vestry, the political body which administered the parish. Fighting erupted between the militia and the crowd, and by the end of the day, the crowd had killed 18 people and wounded 39 others. 7 members of the crowd died. In the days that followed, bands of people in different parts of the parish killed 2 planters and threatened the lives of many others. The government vigorously put down the rebellion. Nearly 500 people were killed, and hundreds of others were seriously wounded.
The Moran Bay Rebellion first started on October 7, 1865, when Bogle and his supporters attended a trial for 2 men from Stony Gut. A black man was put on trial and imprisoned for trespassing on a long-abandoned plantation. One member of Bogle's group protested in court over the unjust arrest and was immediately arrested, angering the crowd further. He was rescued moments later when Bogle and his men took to the market square and retaliated. The police were severely beaten and forced to retreat that day. On Monday the 9th, warrants were issued against Bogle and a number of others for riot and assault. The police arrived in Stony Gut to arrest Bogle, but met with stiff resistance from the residents. They fought the police, again forcing them to retreat to Morant Bay. A few days later, on October 11, 1865, there was a vestry meeting in the courthouse. Bogle and his followers, armed with sticks and machetes, went to the courthouse. The authorities were shaken, and a few people in the crowd threw stones at the volunteer militia who fired into the crowd, killing 7 people. The crowd retaliated and set fire to the courthouse and nearby buildings. When the officials tried to leave the burning building, they were killed by the irate crowd outside. The reprisals came quickly. The troops destroyed Stony Gut and Paul Bogle's chapel. Bogle was captured by the Maroon militia and taken to Morant Bay, where he was put on trial and hung at the burnt-out courthouse. Gordon was taken by boat to Morant Bay, where he was tried for conspiracy and hung on October 23, 1865. In total, over 400 black residents were killed and many more flogged for their participation in the Morant Bay Rebellion. Back in Britain, there was a public outcry. There was increased opposition from liberals against Eyre's handling of the situation, and by the end of 1865, the Governor Eyre case had become the subject of national debate. In January 1866, a royal commission was sent to investigate the events. Governor Eyre was suspended and recalled to England and eventually dismissed. Jamaica became a crown colony, being governed directly from England.
The native Baptists viewed Christ and Scripture as supporting their values, while Milism enforced the unity of slaves against European culture. The Baptist War of 1831 was a result of efforts on the part of the Native Baptist Church and the charismatic leader Samuel Sharp, which hastened the abolishment of slavery in Jamaica. Paul Bogle was another Native Baptist leader who inspired the Morant Bay Rebellion in Jamaica by using religious justification inspired by Samuel Sharp. The essence of the Native Baptist Church, combined with the work of charismatic leaders, led to protests and rebellions which changed the course of Jamaican history.